Guys, this video is sponsored by Bardia Helmi at Premier Fight Picks. Bardia is a top combat sports bettor and analyst with a 70% winning record tracked over 4 years. Bardia has been red hot the last couple of months. Last weekend's UFC Fight Night marked his 5th straight profitable event. He's gone 9 for 12 on his premium bets, including picking Martinez to defeat Cub Swanson. Bardia is offering weekly, monthly, and yearly subscriptions to get you in on the best MMA betting picks and analysis. There are currently 5 bets, including 2 parlays and 1 underdog pick, posted for this weekend's UFC 280. 2 bets for next weekend's UFC Fight Night, and a big pick for the main event between Adesanya and Pereira. A subscription will get you access to all of this content and more, so don't wait. Go subscribe right now to PremierFightPicks.com. And don't forget to follow Bardia on Instagram at PremierFightPicks for free insight and analysis. My official prediction for Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev is in just a moment, because guys, here's what I did. I took a poll on YouTube. And, those do crazy numbers. And that's my way of thanking you, by the way. But you guys responded. We'll have 100,000 people weigh in an hour. That is a massive focus group. Massive. From a very direct market. Who do you think you, the community, took in that fight? Took Charles Oliveira. Do you think it was close? Do you think this was a 52-48 type scenario? No, it was a blowout. 70-some% are taking Charles Oliveira over Islam. Now, I find that interesting because the odds makers had this at a 3-1. At one point, it extended to 3.5-1. I, on a personal note, didn't want to see this fight. And then I saw Charles versus Gage. I go, oh my goodness, this guy's even better than I thought he was. And now all of a sudden I'm interested. But you guys are saying over 70%. And sure, it was just Chael's YouTube. I get it. But that 3-1 that moved to 3.5-1 is damn near even money. It's -140 to +170. I have never seen a fight where a community, right, from the people that are putting their money on this, bettors, handicappers, willing to risk tens of millions of dollars, versus you, the fans. I've never seen where you guys are so split. They interviewed 7 guys from the locker room, 7 athletes within the 155-pound division, guys that have the right to an opinion, who have earned their right, who think about this every single day when they go to the gym, strategizing on when I'm standing across from what am I going to do. 6 of those 7 took Charles. There is no better group you can ask. I can brag about you guys in my YouTube community. I am very proud of it. I'm proud of the numbers that we have. But if you can have 6 boys from the locker room simultaneously signed at the same division, that's who you want to listen to. It's the animal kingdom. I can put 100 tough guys in a room together. They don't ever have to touch. They don't even have to talk. 1 hour later, they will be able to tell you who their leader is. Took 7 guys from the locker room. 6 of them picked Charles in a fight that I personally didn't want to see because I knew how it was going to go. It's going to be a 25-minute ragdolling favoring Islam. How could I be so wrong? How could I be so upside down? I'm not saying Islam's going to win. I'm saying Islam is going to dominate him. Islam is going to ragdoll him. I'm even using as supporting evidence the reason that the jiu-jitsu community, which is pretty damn organized and fairly large, much bigger than the wrestling community, much bigger than the kickboxing community that doesn't even know Pierre and Adesanya are going to fight and represent them, much bigger than the karate and the Aikido and the Kung Fu community, the jiu-jitsu community. The jiu-jitsu community is yet to step forward and put it on the line that this is jiu-jitsu versus sambo. They're not doing it because they're not sure they're going to win. Believe me, on Monday morning, if they do win, they will come out in droves and they'll be trying to sign people up and doing flyers and putting out special promotions for the gym. Believe it, but they're not risking it ahead of time. Which is a massive indicator for me that they don't believe in their guy. Which would lead me to believe that the 3-1 is going to go to 3.5-1, and the poll that I'm going to do is going to be 80-20 in favor of Islam. That's not what happened. It's really, really quite compelling. I mean, right, they set that octagon up in 1993. And there is only one thing that held true then and holds true today. There is only one thing that through the test of time is still an absolute, which is if you get on top of a guy and you stay there, you win. It is the only thing. Every technique is out the door. The rules are out the door. The wrapping of the hands, the weight classes, the glove, the rounds, the system, everything has changed. One absolute remains to this day. If you take a guy down against his will and you keep him there, you're going to win the fight. Which is what Islam does. That's the only reason I'm bringing that to you. Now, it's very tough. Looking at a lot of these fights, it's very, very tough. But the fighters see it. See, the argument that I'm about to make is to condescend you a little bit that you don't know what you're watching. If you've seen 10 submissions, guys, if you've seen 10 submissions in MMA, there's a very strong chance that you've seen none. And it's an absolute guarantee that you haven't seen more than one. Out of every 10 submissions that you see, every single 10 times you see somebody tap, only one guy was actually somewhere he didn't want to be. The rest of them, it's how they got to a curtain call. They were done. They were ready to go. This is what they needed to show. Exit stage left. I had enough tonight. But it's very true with the knockouts as well. I mean, if you watch Mike Tyson knock out 9 men, I apologize, 10 men, you probably saw 9 actors and you probably saw 1 knockout. Very common in boxing. Did you ever see Tyson versus Bruce Seldon? You ever see Tyson versus Frank Bruno? I actually shouldn't compare the two. Bruce Seldon did the dive of dives. I mean, Bruno's was bad, but I really shouldn't compare it to Seldon. But that's very common. He was just a worse actor. He just didn't pull it off very well. And nobody's at fault. You've had enough for whatever reason. And generally, it isn't because of what's already happened. It's because of a fear of what's to come. And a guy finds a way out. And I only bring that to you because I'm just wondering how Charles is going to win. We're told how great Islam is on his feet standing up. We haven't seen it, so we rightly favor Charles. I get that, and I don't begrudge it at all. Charles is something special. You watch that hook he landed on Chandler. I mean, there are so many thousands of repetitions of that have to be done in the gym to be able to find that mark and generate that kind of power, not to mention at that point of the fight where your energy and your battery is already drained. It's amazing. Charles is awesome. I don't dispute that. I'm just sharing. Charles, who's been forced to show us this striking and passed the test, looked very good, but he was forced to do that. Versus Islam, who's never shown it to us because he's never been forced. He takes the fight into a different dimension, which is on the ground. So it's a little bit make-believe that Islam doesn't have those skills. Now, can Islam go tackle him? Can he go get Charles down? Because I'll tell you another thing about Charles, okay? As I tell you, I watched the Gaethje fight, and that's when I realized, oh my God, this guy's even better than I thought it was. Well, I tell you that I've had those moments before. Charles versus Tony Ferguson. 4 takedown attempts by Charles. Tony never got up from any of the takedowns. 4 attempts, 3 successful. Tony never got up. I didn't know that about Charles. I didn't know he was that good of a wrestler. It's the same takedown every time. It was the double leg. Back him, get him into the fence, fire double, pick him up off the ground, let gravity do the rest. But it was beautiful, and I didn't know Charles had it. Just how good is Charles' wrestling? Is Charles going to be able to take Islam down? That would be a surprise, but what if it happened? What if it happened one time? Right? Charles only has to get 3 rounds right. He doesn't have to knock him out. He doesn't have to submit him. He doesn't even have to beat him for 25 minutes. He's got to get 3 rounds better than he has done to him. Charles gets 1 takedown. You could take 1 of those rounds right off the board. Now he just needs 2. And he's got 4 rounds to go find those 2, right? I mean, I get where you can make the case for it. When I hear people talking about Charles is going to win, I continually hear Charles is going to knock him out if they're on the feet. Charles is going to submit him if they're on the ground. I mean, I do hear that. Everybody I hear talking about this fight, which includes the comment section right here, has it a finish for Charles, but they're not parting with their money on that. Is that a clue? Is it irrelevant? Because what I'm attempting to do is I'm attempting, while I dissect this, to find the sincerity. When I asked you who's going to win between Charles and Islam, and 70-some% of you tell me Charles, I then have to wonder, are you picking and predicting Charles to win, or did you just change my question and this is who you hope wins? Charles Oliveira's popularity is stunning to me. I mean, 1 year ago, this was a problem to have on top of your bill. Then your problem goes and makes a huge blunder so bad they take his belt away. This is largely irredeemable, particularly when he can't come to you and plead his case because he doesn't speak your language. Really bad spot. Charles comes out, he says, the lightweight division has a champion. His name is Charles Oliveira. Now, if you would have frozen that right there, and let me see into the future, I'd have put it on a t-shirt that night and I'd have sold them out to you guys. I'd have put them on bumper stickers, and so would have anybody else that thought of it. I never knew that was a catchy line. In fact, I thought it was a little bit weird. I thought it was a little bit weird, kind of like George Masvidal trying to convince you all you're a surfer, telling you to bring a towel and a picture of him where he's got no towel. You should bring your towel, but I didn't bring my towel. The whole thing, it was just weird. Because the lightweight division doesn't have a champion. In fact, that's what this is about. We took his championship. There is no champion. His name does not exist. It's not Charles Oliveira. It's one of those things. Guys, you loved it. You guys write it in all the time. I'll do a Charles Oliveira piece. I'll go into the comment section. It'll simply say the lightweight division has a champion. His name is Charles Oliveira. Like, you guys love him. It caught on. But I still have to wonder. So are you telling me you think that he'll win? Or are you telling me that you hope that he will win? And it gets to be a bit of a tricky question. Like, if you were to ask me who's a better fighter, I would not need 10 minutes to rant to you. I would simply answer you. 2 words, Charles Oliveira. Who do you think is going to win? Islam Makhachev. The guy that's not as good wins all the time. Being well-rounded and knowing 20 different things, I mean, like, this is a myth. This isn't real. The specialist still has the advantage as long as he can get you in that special area. As long as where he specializes, you also have a deficit. It doesn't matter if you got 20 different black belts and he's got none. So if you guys are saying that you think Charles is going to win, and I'm not, I'm going to officially pick Islam. But I'm very open to the idea, and I'm happy to be wrong, and I would love to learn something about the sport. But if you don't believe that Charles is going to finish Islam, if you don't believe that, then how is it that you believe he's going to win? You believe that he's going to have the position. You believe he's going to keep the fight standing up. You believe that Islam can't just come across the ring and take him down. Like, all of those things would be of interest. And I don't begrudge any of them, right? I mean, this is between those two boys. We'll go and see what happens. I brought up the example of you seeing 10 knockouts and 9 of them you didn't really see. I brought up the example of you seeing 10 submissions and 9 of them you didn't really see. I brought that up because while that is commonplace within our sport, it only happens when the guy falls apart mentally. It is not a physical thing that gets you caught in an armbar. You get your arm extended when you give the guy the arm and you want him to extend it. Now, that happens from a mental lapse. Mental lapses come from a lack of confidence, and a lack of confidence is only tied to one thing, which is a lack of conditioning. If you ever are confident in a fight, if you ever leave that locker room and you know tonight's my night, that means you believe in your conditioning. Nothing else. Not I've got the power, not I got the size, nothing. Nothing will give you confidence in combat except for one thing, which is conditioning. And I've never seen anything within Islam that tells me he's going to quit. I mean, I could really stereotype and back that up even finer to the boys from Dagestan. I haven't seen any of them quit in a fight. So if Islam doesn't quit and knockouts and submissions aren't real, how's Charles going to win the fight? I'm open to your suggestion. I'd just like a little bit more clarity. You've made it very clear. You've told me you think Charles is going to win. I would just like to ask you the next step. How do you think he's going to win? We'll come back on Monday. I'll read your answers.